Today on John Dash and Friends, John sits down with his longtime friend, Lawrence Hayes. These two men have shared years of friendship, and today you'll get to hear Lawrence share his heart for pastoring a local church. In this conversation, Lawrence talks about the joys and challenges of balancing life while working a full-time job and faithfully serving as a pastor. His story is one of dedication, faith, and a commitment to helping others. To watch the full interview, visit the John Dash and Friends Facebook page. And for more inspiring conversations like this, be sure to follow the John Dash and Friends podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, and YouTube. Trust us, you're going to love this one.
Next week, what are we going to do on this? Are we going to pitch tomorrow? And they started into baseball.
Yeah.
But I see that generation there, and I see such hope.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
And I don't think any of them are on, they might be on something, but they're not on Facebook or they're not on much social media.
Right.
And but I think there's a gap that we've had some issues with.
Right.
And these guys seem a little more manly too.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
I mean, they're more manly. Mm-hmm. Because we have a gap there that we lost, it seems like.
Right.
I mean, that's just my theory.
Yeah.
Oprah ain't asked me to write a book.
Yeah, well,
okay.
Yeah,
but,
I understand that.
But it's a theory.
But that's a good theory because you can just look back through generations. And I'm sure generations before us look back and seen gaps and seen where things were different. And time has a awesome way to repeat itself, and
I've got hope.
Yeah.
I mean, I see hope, man. I see hope in real men coming up now.
Yep.
And no offense toward the man bun and 4 earrings, but I see another group of men coming up that's looking a little different, that's acting a little different, that's talking a little different.
Right.
And I see some men coming up talking about being protectors and providers.
Right.
And I see them. I guess I just see hope.
Yeah.
Well,
and I mean, when you really think about it, always we should see hope.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's hard.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's really a struggle, but as long as you can see hope, men will thrive.
Yeah.
But if men think there's no hope or no purpose, we'll
lose it all.
You'll morph into whatever is happening instead of, I've always said either you're a thermostat or a thermometer, right? You've probably heard that analogy. Thermometer just tells the temperature of the room. Thermostat changes it.
Right.
And I think a lot of times people learn to become thermometers, just be whatever the situation is and morph into that instead of going, you know what? No, I know who I am, and that's what I'm going to be, and I'm going to be the thermostat.
Yeah. When it said, "Blessed is the peacemaker," then we're going to have to make peace in some situations where it seems not to be.
That's right.
And not in such just talking about what a mess it is. Now, sometimes I find myself not wanting to mess with some situations that in my point, I feel like are hopeless.
Right.
Okay, and I think it's of my human nature to cast judgment upon some things and say, man, I just don't see no way to fix this.
Right.
And them people, I say, God's them your little children, not mine.
Right.
And you've got a wrench for every nut. You can adjust that one the best way you can.
Right. I just may not be the one that you need to use.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. That's exactly. Yeah. I don't know. I think about it a lot, and I just find hope in our generation. I think about now, I hope that we can have a generation that can still drywall and build a porch.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a little bit. I really think about that a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, because and I'm not an auto mechanic. I mean, I used to be able to work on cars a little bit, but I mean now I have to plug in the code generator and find out what's going on.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, I think about some things. I hope they can build and they can pick up. I think that trade school needs to be.
Oh well,
emphasized.
I think there was a push so much for a certain type of education, and because of that, trades have fallen off. I mean, finding an electrician and a plumber is a hard thing to do because you just don't see that trade anymore because trades kind of got put to the side. But at the end of the day, it's those trades. Now, I'll be the first to tell you, I can't drywall, but I can sure tear it down. I can't build a porch, but I'm the demolition guy. Yeah, I'm not. And when people try to teach me, especially drywall, those people are artists. Just unbelievable.
Listen,
what
it
takes.
Look easy. They can make it look easy. Come in on a pair of stilts too in some places.
Yeah.
And the big thing I learned with drywall, you think screws are your friend, but they're not. Okay, you know, there's been times I'm putting them screws in. I'm really going to make this. You better to use liquid nail and 2 screws.
Right. Okay. I've seen people, you know, just get that putty out and they'll just putty and make it look so. And then I grab it and it's all clumpy, and I'm like, I'm doing the same strokes.
Big hump. I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
Usually, the bigger gypsy someone is, the better they are at drywall. And they can come in, man, I've had gypsies come in, and they absolutely can just do stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. And it's a lot of fun. I mean, I enjoy stuff, and I like working on stuff. I think I feel a sense of completion whenever I'm working on something, you know.
Right.
And we got a big way the other day. We wanted to redo the outside of our porch around the house. It has a lattice work on it that underpins the porch and everything that we done originally. And I said, well, we're going to put another type of board on it. We looked at it and we said, we're going to redo all that this summer. Janice and I stain it all out in black and trim it up. And she said, let's go to Lowe's. Yesterday, she said, let's go to Lowe's. We're going to figure it up and price it. We went up and it was like $1,800. She said, I think we'll just stain the lattice work. It'll be just fine. Okay. She said, it's all right.
We make the old look new.
It's all right.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. But I like working on the stuff and I enjoy it. I was thinking the other day about, and I got questions, some things I want to talk about, but I was thinking about the different types of pastors, okay?
Yeah.
That I see. Now, there's some pastors that love to plant and build churches, but you're not that type of pastor. Okay, I've watched you over the years. You'll come in where it seems like hearts are broke, or where people need somebody or need this thing or need that. You come into that congregation, and that's a different type of pastor.
Right.
That's a pastor, but that's a different heart for that pastor, and it's really cool.
Right.
Now, I don't envy it. When anybody tells me they're going to go out and build a church, I just soon handle snakes. Okay, I'm thinking, man, you don't have no idea what you're talking about. Okay, because I mean, you know what I mean.
Right.
I got to sign for the loan.
It sounds so good.
Okay,
right?
I got to do this. I got to do that, and then you know, there's but there's a different type of pastor that comes in, and because you have to come in, first thing you have to do is be able to work with the board.
Right.
Okay. Not many people can do that.
Right.
Okay. You know, I would be no good. Because I'm not like you. You're really good in the sense of me getting along with people. I'm more of a plow horse. Okay. I had one time. I had to. You know, the little church. I only pastored one church, and I was just supposed to pastor one church. I wasn't called to be a pastor. I knew that up front, but I was just called to pastor that one church on Shake Rag. Well, one time I walked in on a board meeting.
Yeah.
That they were having at the church. And I said, well, I didn't even know this was on schedule. They said, well, it wasn't, you know, and so they were talking about voting me out. And I said, well, ain't that something? I said, I would just soon rent this building to you all as I would anybody else. They said, no, I think people do need leadership and counsel and blah, 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 blah.
Right,
okay,
right.
But I said, obviously you haven't checked the deed on this building.
Yeah.
Because it's in my name. I said, but, and again, there's differences.
Right.
Man. There's differences.
It's the body of Christ.
Yeah.
Not everything's the thumb.
Right.
Not everything's the ear.
Yeah.
We're all different in the way, and that's what God's strategic plan is, right? You'll touch people that I can't. I'll hopefully touch people that maybe you can't.
Yeah.
And then you put us together, then that's a big fold, you know?
Right.
But you're right. There's just something about going in to where broken people are.
Right.
And I think a lot of times if you've ever been broken, you've got that compassion, you know, to where you're like, I don't want to leave you the way I find you. I want you to know there's hope and there's love. And that's the main thing is love. Just love people because most of the time if they're hurt, they're hurting too. I mean, they're hurting other people.
Right.
And you don't want church going out hurting people because that's not what we're supposed to do. So, but yeah, I do have a heart to go into where, you know, it seems like it's just been brokenness and just go try to love on them. You know, and
you see, I'm mean. I'm not so much like you. Okay, I mean, you know, really, I'm more the kind of guy that's the sergeant in the barracks type of guy, that says, by God, you get if you ain't going to live right, get out of here. You know what I mean? Okay,
I got you. Okay. I got you.
And obviously, that's why I'm not a pastor right now. But I mean, I got a little nephew, Zach Baker. He's out west right now. He's in the Church of God, pastoring a big church out there and doing good, man, young people. He just does good with stuff. That's awesome. And he's got such a heart, like it can go into a place and just really can do good, and I see that, and I guess I feel like my position is to stand behind people.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm standing back there and sling the sword every once in a while if I need to, and watch your back.
Right.
I just feel like that's where I am. Okay. Right. And
well, you're also giving people like me platforms that we would have never had, or introduce us to platforms that we didn't know, and that's a huge support. When the Lord changed, when I knew I was not supposed to pastor, I was done with that part of my life. Right.
And He said, I want you to concentrate on this media ministry, this part of the media ministry.
Right.
And I've got around 45 different ministers that we gird up and we stand behind. We record them in the studio and we stand behind them. They're on TV in places they have no idea about.
Right.
I mean, I've got ministers from Detroit, all over Michigan, on Detroit. They're on big stations out there. They're on in Texas, Lufkin, Texas. And I never sit down and talk to them about it.
Right.
I mean, our -tv.net on the internet is through the roof. Roku, Apple TV, Google TV, Chrome Fire Stick, Amazon TV. I mean, our networks on there, all these places. But I never sit down. I guess one of the great philosophers of the 21st century, Kenny Rogers, said, never count your money while you sit at the table.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I don't take time and go over everything.
Right.
Because I figure I just keep working. I keep helping, doing what I can do. And now I'll tell you this, and you can say it to me after a while if I ask you something, okay? And it's all right.
Okay.
And I don't mind us disagreeing and fighting. Okay, yeah. I think I could take your brother, but I don't know about you. But what I'm saying is, we'll talk about how ugly he is later.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, yeah. I do need to interview him sometime.
Yeah.
I need to do that. That would be good.
Yeah.
Maybe from a distance. You don't beat me up. But I'm thinking how, I don't know, we work with things and we work together and we know our place. We take our time.
Right.
And don't be so bullish.
Right.
But just move through the places that we're supposed to be.
Right.
And when I knew that God wanted me to work on the media ministry and do this part of it, then, since then, I've been on conference calls with Snoop Dogg and Mark Wahlberg, and I've worked with all these people and done all kinds of different things.
Right.
And been with some guys. I love to listen to the old hippies talk about the good man upstairs.
Yeah.
It's fascinating to me. And some of them got more Jesus in them than a lot of other people I've met. But it's fascinating, the people that you meet on the journey.
Yeah.
And I enjoy this journey.
Yeah.
And I've been doing these interviews since 1992. And I think about it, and you talk about memories. You don't know memories are memories when you're making them.
No.
You think it's a normal day.
It's right. That's exactly right.
It's a normal day.
Your mind just says this, right. But I think, like you said earlier, though, the older you get, the more you realize moments are going to be memories. Right. So you put a little more effort into making it count.
Yeah.
When you're young, you're invincible.
Right.
You got plenty of time, and you don't even think about it.
Right.
But as you get older, you look back and go, but it's those memories that give me the hope for my future days too. Right. It gives me something to look forward to.
Yeah.
So,
I think of people. I did a Facebook a while back. I'm a sort of a Facebook prostitute, I guess. I've got like 19 Facebooks. All right, but I've got one called God's Generals.
Yeah.
Okay. And I probably shouldn't have said the word prostitute on TV, but I've been called other things to do with it that weren't nice. But I got one called God's Generals. And I have mostly on there people that have passed away.
Oh, okay.
That we have no footage of.
Right.
I'm from Brother Hall to L.H. Connors to all kinds of different ministers that I've known over the years.
Right.
Betty Jean Robinson. These are people that there is no video footage of, no record of them being out there.
Yeah.
If you go on and search Betty Jean Robinson right now, her estate was sold. You'll find her obituary.
Yeah.
But when she was alive at TBN, they were taking her off the air. They'd made her rebranded, and I went and I got her programs out of the dumpster, and I've got 70 of her TV programs that nobody has.
Wow!
I've got stuff from Brother Hall in 1992, 93. From H. Richard Hall. I mean, nobody has. I got L.H. Connors. People don't remember him. He come through and prayed for gold teeth. Okay. I've stood with him and watched people's teeth turn gold.
Yeah.
Stood with him, watched this. And people say, I can't. I mean, it was miracles.
Yeah.
I watched black lead turn. And he preached 4 hours. Okay, he would preach, my Lord. He'd take 2 VHS tapes to every message. He was the longest winded preacher ever. He would tell stories from the 50s. And he come out with a guy named Ronnie Coleman. Ronnie Coleman was a man who could see out of a glass eye. He had a glass eye. It was all, if you ever get a chance, I don't know if there ever is anything even on about him.
Yeah.
But he would put he had a glass eye. And he would cover up the good eye and read a newspaper through the glass eye.
Wow.
Freaky,
Wow.
right?
Yeah.
You do that in church today, they'd be tiring feathers outside waiting on you. I mean, some of these gin whatevers would fall out on the floor in shivers, okay? I mean, if you talk about reading through a glass eye.
Right.
Miracles,
Right.
okay? And they talk about men that come up under William Brandon and all these people. I mean, but when I think about them, and I've been preserving this history.
Oh yeah.
And I've been putting it up on there and letting people watch it, and the response is just crazy.
Oh.
Because so many people that are, and we've recorded people in the studio that are gone and be with the Lord now.
Right.
Okay, we hope we're all with the Lord, but we recorded them.
Right.
And we've got their content, and I back up and replay that. Do you remember Danny Reynolds?
Oh, absolutely.
Big Danny.
Yeah.
I've got video of Big Danny.
Oh yeah.
And how many chords? 3 chords maybe on the guitar Big Danny would play.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you couldn't help but love old Danny.
Oh. One of I mean, there wasn't a place he didn't walk in that he didn't ask something about Jesus.
And want to sing a song too.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Every church around, he'd get up there and sing.
Yeah.
And when he would sing, Kelsey, my youngest daughter, we would be in church and Danny'd sing, and she'd come up out of that pew and she'd stand up and just listen to everything he said.
Yeah.
He got done, she'd go back down and go to playing on the floor.
Yeah.
But I mean, I remember I got Big Danny and these people like this that we
Wow.
knew.
Yeah.
Sister Hazel Click, who was original in the Jesus Name movement.
Okay.
Sister Hazel Click
I remember
was.
her, yeah.
Okay, and over toward War, had a little church on the hillside there. Ralph's aunt, I believe she was. I don't believe his grandma, I believe his aunt. But anyway, I think about those people.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And I don't know their memories, man.
Yeah.
I sit with so many of them, and they just touch my life. And Brother Hall touched my life so many ways. He just he blessed me. It's just fascinating when I think about him.
Yeah.
When you think about people that blessed you in the past, that touched your life, and it can be ministry or not ministry.
Right.
Who stands out in your mind?
Probably, first of all, my dad.
Right.
And that's first, because growing up as a pastor's kid,
Right.
you see the struggle it is to be a pastor, and
Right.
you watch him handle it with grace, and how he was like, he loved people. He same way, loved people, just absolutely loved people, and that's probably one of the ones that stick out the most. And maybe it's because I didn't get enough time with him also.
Right.
But I can honestly say that's probably one. There's a lot of people that you look back on. Danny Reynolds. I'm just trying to think. Tom Hay. I think of so many. I couldn't name them all of the people
Right.
who went to my dad's church. Woodrow Altizer was a guy that was in World War II, and he'd play the harmonica.
Right.
But always smiling, always just happy. Always. I never remember going to church and seeing him sad. There was I didn't ever know his first name, but Mr. Bandy. And we knew him because he gave candy to the kids. Every time a kid come in, he'd pass them a peppermint. And just people like that, you never forget. They may not even think they've impacted someone.
Right.
Like, I just gave candy to a kid.
Right.
But we never forgot it. We can remember that stuff. And I look back at those people, and it's not the people who were reaching thousands it's the people who were okay to be remembered by a few.
Yeah.
You know, and because their heart was so pure.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there are people. I'll tell you another one. What was his name? You got to know him. He played the guitar, an electric guitar. Carl. Carl was his first name, but he was over that area, and played the guitar like Chuck Berry. I mean, it was just.
Oh man, some of the greatest music you would ever hear. We go up Shop Holler on a Saturday night.
Oh yeah,
and you could hear music. I'm talking about music, baby. Not none of this fake stuff that you see where every chord is perfect.
Right.
With somebody bearing down on the guitar making some music and drums. Lord, I've heard some of the best drumming that you've ever heard.
Right.
At a Good Jesus Church. And let's talk about this. Let's think about. You remember when? And I know you're not old, but I mean, you remember when there was a big movement, the Jesus Name movement was big. And it had a lot to do with water baptism, Godhead. You know, it was a big movement at one point. And it seems like you can't hardly find a good Jesus only anymore. But I mean, people were really tough on that.
Yeah.
And I understand what they were saying. Okay. Right. But, you know, and then some people were so hard on, or so straight line Trinitarian that you didn't know if they believed in Jesus.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But I remember all that.
Yeah.
And I baptized. It was a young lady that was married to a gentleman. She was divorced from him, but was real big in the Jesus Name movement. And I baptized her. She got saved at the church and wanted me to baptize her.
Right.
And I said, do you want me to say in the name of the Lord Jesus or in Jesus' name or the Father, Son? She said, John, it don't matter a lick as long as you get me underwater. Okay?
Yeah.
But I mean, you know, I think about how we went through that as a church. In a way, it was a big thing at one point.
Right.
And you know, I'm a Jesus man. I'm born and raised Church of God, the old time Pentecost. I understand it all, and I'm with it. Okay.
Yeah.
But I mean, I watch this, and I've seen so many funny things out there.
Right.
What scares me is I don't want to. I've looked at some statistics, and I was thinking about how we turn around and there's a lot of people. 62 to 63% of America still identifies as Christians, making Christianity the largest faith in the United States.
Right.
Okay. And I think about what scares me is I don't want us to become so watered down. And this is the thing, and I'll share this. And again, it's all right, but it seems like we do so much more counseling and so much less devil casting out.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I know there's different moves in the world. This thing, all shapes and moves.
Right.
But that worries me a little bit about getting people prayed through and getting the yoke broke off of them.
Right.
Instead of saying, all right, let's see if we can. And I don't know.
Right.
I'm just coming at it from a different point.
Right. Well, I think, like you said, that, you know, back in our day, we were raised in church. So you're dealing, okay, you say there's 62%, but out of that 62%, how many actually go to church would probably be 42.
Right.
And how many actually get something out of it would be, I mean, I'm not saying that in a bad way, but I'm just saying most people when you were a pastor back in the day, people pastored themselves.
Right.
You know, and you don't have that now. So some people that you have to talk through sometimes is not because it's just because they have no foundation.
Okay.
You know, it's tough to cast that out if there's no foundation to cast him out of.
Right.
You know,
makes sense.
And so sometimes you got to just listen to people. Mm-hmm. And I've always said the greatest listeners, and I'm guilty of not being a good listener sometimes, is we listen to respond instead of listen to listen. We're listening to the person to respond to something so we can have some moment of this is going to be good.
Right.
You know, instead of just listen. Because if you really listen to people, they'll answer their own questions, you know.
Yeah.
And so sometimes I think the reason that has changed is because it's been a different background. I mean,
that makes sense.
A lot of people now have not been raised in church. You'd be amazed how many would say, you know, back in their day, that's where you went on Sunday.
Yeah.
Even if your mom and dad were non-believers, they still went to church on Sunday.
It's your social life. It's where you made your girlfriends. It's where you had your dinners and your fellowships.
Yeah. So you know seeds were sown for some type of foundation. Yeah. And now you're dealing with people who have no foundation, and all they have is opinions from people. Right. And so they get confused. So sometimes it's not necessarily, it's just a devil attack. It's a good person that's confused because they have nothing.
Well, see, I never thought of it that way.
Yeah.
Okay, you have enlightened me. The only person I've met so far that enlightened me in this respect, okay? Like the other day, I was watching an interview with a woman that had become Muslim. Mm-hmm. And her daughter was Muslim. They had their stuff on and everything. And they asked the mother, said, how come you become? The daughter said, I become Muslim because my mom was. And they said, well, why did you become Muslim? She said, I was going through a part of my life where I needed structure, and I couldn't find it.
Right.
But I found it in the Muslim. I found it in this Muslim, and I don't even call it religion, this Muslim way of life.
Right.
I found structure.
Right.
And that's what, it wasn't that she had a revelation.
No.
She just needed structure.
Right.
And see, sometimes I think, I know some friends of mine that have a pretty hard line structure in their church. They're pretty hard.
Right.
And I find people sometimes there are different people will gravitate toward that.
Right.
That really want structure. I believe the Bible is about, I think some people don't want to be a Christian because they don't want to be bossed around.
Right.
They don't want God to tell them what to do.
Right.
They want to do what they feel, and we see it.
Right.
And I see some, biggest thing I shared with my grandson the other day is going to college. I said, now listen, this is what scares me. I'm just telling you up front. You'll get to college, and some cute little girl with purple hair who's about 110% liberal, who don't know a man from a woman, will go to Greenwich you. The next thing you know, you'll be listening to her for a little bit, thinking what she says makes sense.
Right.
Because what she says may make sense in the world she lives in.
Right.
And so he said, I won't, Papa, I'm okay with that. I said, well, I'm going to keep check on you.
Yeah.
Okay? Because I don't want that to happen. I
Right.
said, because it scares me because he's going to college. I'm scared.
Right.
I mean, I wouldn't be scared if he was going to make his red hat and work in the mines as I would as much of him going to a liberal college.
Right.
And that worries me along with that. But he seemed pretty strong.
And at the same time, I know he's got a foundation.
Right.
He's heard.
Right.
And unless we put people with foundations in places that are not, we can't be scared to the people who don't have a foundation changing us. What our hope is the foundation so strong in who we've taught that it gives them the foundation they're looking for, because they're still looking.
Right.
When people say, I don't want to be judged. Well, if you do certain things,
right,
of course you want to be. You want somebody to talk about you, and if that's the way they talk about you, then that's the attention you've drawn.
Yeah.
But when you show somebody who has a firm faith and they can't be moved, they'll gravitate towards that, because what their hope is if I can get people to gravitate. In other words, if I really don't believe it, but I get enough people with me, then maybe I can believe it.
Yeah.
Because if you don't believe it, then you can't be. I've always said, people who say, I'm offended. If you are living your truth, you can't be offended, right? When somebody comes up to me and says, I don't believe in Jesus, I'm not offended. I believe in him,
okay.
Right? Yeah. And what I'm trying to say is when you see people who don't believe in Jesus say, well, if you say Merry Christmas, I'm offended. Well, if you don't believe in him, you can't be offended by him.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And that's where I go, that just shows me there's something in you working, and you don't like the way it makes you feel because it's very uncomfortable. Right. But it's an uncomfortable, I'm trying to teach you something. And I think, like you said, I think a lot of people look at it and go, he's bossing me around. But when you experience the true love of Jesus, you don't see it as a boss. You see it as direction.
Right.
And you don't mind to follow directions from the people who love you. So if you don't believe he loves you, it's going to be, he's giving me rules.
Yeah.
But if you love him, and he loves you, he's giving me directions.
Yeah.
People will follow directions better than they will rules.
Well, see, I believe this when we talk about the Bible. I look at the Bible more as a handbook, too, on life. Okay?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I believe the principles of the Bible can be applied to your life even if you're not a believer, and they still work.
Sure.
Okay?
Yeah.
And that's where people get confused about it. If you didn't want to be a Christian, you did not believe in God, if you'll still open that Bible and follow those principles,
teaches you how to live with people,
your life would work so much better.
Yeah.
And I've had people tell me, well, you got to be, because it seems like we come through such a point to where if you didn't dot every I and cross every T, in your prayer, people thought it wouldn't work for you. And I said, hold on a second. I'm talking about God the Father who loves me. And I think he's looking for things that I haven't even asked him for in my life.
Right.
So when I look back on the Bible and I think about the Word of God, because when he said, Father, have we not cast out devils in your name? Prophesied, he said, yeah, but depart from me, you workers of iniquity. I didn't know who you was, but the word still worked.
Right.
I've said tithing will still work even if you're not a believer.
Right.
And I've seen it work for people.
Right.
I got people I know that have given that really, but I think the principles of Christianity and what God's word is, and if you will just take it and apply it to your life. And
well, like you said, if you're not a believer, the Bible's still a book of knowledge.
Right.
Right. But if you're a believer, not only is it a book of knowledge, it's a book of life.
Yeah.
And so, like you said, even if people didn't believe but followed the guidelines of what it takes to live with other people, thou shalt not kill. How's that bad?
Yeah.
How's that bad? How's that a bad rule to follow? And live peaceable with all men if you can't. I mean, how's that a bad rule?
Yeah.
And like you said, if you just apply the knowledge of the Bible, it would work because it's the Word of God. It doesn't come back void. But as a believer, not only does it give us knowledge, but it gives us life. Because in those words are life to us.
Yeah.
And so, like you said, you can even not be a believer and it still be a book of knowledge.
Exactly.
Right? And people look at it and people judge the Bible just by the word Bible. Right. But read it. You'd find out, what? Out of all the things I've ever read, this is probably the truest thing I've ever read.
Have you ever seen how some people seem like they try to talk themselves out of the Bible being true? When I'm thinking, how silly are you when you're trying to talk yourself out of it? Well, I don't think this is true because it contradicts here. It does this. And they try to talk themselves out of the blessings of God.
Again.
And I'm thinking, and that I see these crazy people that do this. And I'm thinking, man, why do you try to talk yourself out of the blessings of God?
But again, it's your perspective. Are you reading it to know something, or are you reading to find a problem with it?
Yeah, see, there it is.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If I want to go to the store, if I'm just looking to get my groceries, I can get my groceries. Right. But if I'm looking for something wrong in the store, I'll find it. You'll always hear what you're listening for. You'll always see what you're looking for.
Yeah.
And if you already look at the Bible, I'm going to show you it's wrong. Well, then you're going to try your best to read something out of context because you're not reading it to know about it.
Right.
You're reading to contradict it.
Yeah.
And that's the difference. If you go in with the attitude of, I'm going to find something wrong with it, well, I mean, even you're not going to, but to you will. Yeah. You'll find something. It takes a life of study, because the Bible, at places you can go, well, but if you don't read it all, that's the problem. You can pick out places, but until you understand other places, then you understand this place.
Right. Yeah. And, I think the simplicity of God's Word, I think is so simple. I think what we do sometimes, and in the past, I met great friends of mine who tried to seem so intelligent, like they really had this great revelation secret.
Right.
And I'm thinking, man, instead a wayfaring man would find this thing. And I said, I never say anything, but I thought to myself, this is not as complicated as you let on.
Right.
If you want to be a rascal, this thing ain't going to work for you. I said, it's not going. You're going to have a lot of trouble.
Right.
See, I believe hell starts here on earth. I'm just being honest with you. People bring hell into their life.
Right.
To the way they want to live. And I believe heaven can start here on earth too.
Right.
I was sitting yesterday on the porch there at the house, and Colson was there, and Chris was there, and my grandson was in a big pile of dirt in the back of a trailer just having himself a time. And I thought, it feels like heaven to me, okay? Right. How much better off could it be?
When you think about it, John, as a believer, this is the closest we'll get to hell, is here. And what I mean by that, problems, sickness, whatever. And as a non-believer, this is the closest you get to heaven.
Yeah.
So, as good as you experienced here, we still got better to come, right?
Yeah.
But when you're a non-believer, this is the most heaven you taste. Because even as a non-believer, you're going to smile sometime in your life. Something good's going to happen to you, right? It rains on the just as well as the unjust. And as believers, this is the closest we get to hell. And the problems and the hang-ups and the hurts and the pains. Right. Because we know we're moving on. And so I do believe we get a taste of both places here to know what we truly are going to.
I agree. You know, I just think, and you know, when it comes down to heaven, okay, I'm not sure about a lot of it. You know, I read a lot, and I've got friends who say they've been there. And Jerry Ward has a great testimony of what he's seen and the things. And he was almost dying when he had COVID, and he was in bad shape. And but I just don't know. You know, I try to think of what is my idea of heaven. I don't care much about streets. I live in a little house, and I'm pretty happy.
Right.
You know, but being out of envy and strife and malice and jealousy would be a pretty big thing.
Well, I was talking to my son the other day. We were talking about heaven. And I said, I believe the reason he had to tell us it's streets of gold is because when we get there and see his perfect love, it's just going to be pavement to us.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I didn't come here and take a chip out of 460 and go, look at this pavement, John, that I just found. It's common to me.
Right.
Right? Gold is going to be common. So he knew that these earthly bodies measure things by riches, right? We do. We measure things by riches. So he says, the streets are going to be of gold. And we go, but we don't realize once we get there, we're not even going to notice it because, and like you said, to me, the thing about heaven that appeals to me the most, especially now as we live in this world, untainted, unconditional, perfect love can never be polluted, can never be tampered with. To be in that kind of love, I'm like you, it doesn't matter about a mansion. He said it's there, so I believe it.
Right.
But just to be in his presence of unpolluted love like never before, that alone to me is heaven. Yeah.
You know, I think about it, and I think we have everybody has this thought of it, and I think about it a lot. And I think, you know, I'm not sitting around saying, Lord, I can't wait to get there. I'm pretty much all right now, okay?
Right.
I mean, I'm okay, but I get to thinking about that, and I think about heaven, and I think about stuff, and I don't mind. I'm of nature, as long as God's got a work for me to do, I like doing what He has for me to do.
Right.
I like people.
Yeah.
I feel like that's what I'm supposed to do, and I fit the notch that I'm supposed to be in, and I'm all right with it.
Right.
All right, let's talk about a different subject.
Okay.
Let's talk about real men.
Okay.
Noah.
All right.
That guy was a horse.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine that. Have you ever thought? I mean, I've been thinking about it, and I've watched some videos on YouTube. There's some little biblical stories and stuff. The other day, I stopped through it, and I said, what? So I was watching this, thinking about, man, 120 years with a little bit of direction.
Right.
Okay?
And a lot of work.
The sweat. Moving these big cedar trees.
Yeah.
All this distance, and he didn't pull them up to the sawmill and start the diesel motor.
Right.
I mean, and pitching them things and putting them there. I'm there. Can you imagine the splinters and the sweat and the hard work?
The soreness. You know, I mean,
10 minutes on a rowing machine. I've had it.
Oh,
okay?
I'm right there with you.
So, I mean, I'm thinking about this was a man.
Yeah. Oh,
and we gloss past him sometimes.
See, because we read scripture so fast.
Yeah.
Noah heard from God, build an ark, and he built an ark. 120 years of hard labor. Yeah. And not only hard labor, but everybody in your community saying that's the crazy man.
Yeah.
So yeah, right. He went through all of that. Yeah, that is amazing.
He had to have a payroll of some kind. I mean, there had to be some people. He had to trade out something. I don't know, man, hickories or nuts or something. Because I mean, he had to have some help. I mean,
somebody had to hold the ladder when he was getting to the top.
You know, and the pitch. I watched him in this video putting that pitch on there, and I'm thinking, that's tar.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Putting tar on that, pitching that thing.
Yeah.
Gee whiz.
Yeah.
Have you ever been to that? I've never been to it. That place in Kentucky?
Same way. Never been.
I wanna go.
Heard all kinds of people talk.
I want to go.
My buddy Bill Weeks, he went and said, oh my gosh, you should see it. And so, yeah, I want to go too.
I want to go. I'm going to go. It's on my list. I've got it on my list for the summer. I want to go there.
As much as you RV, I cannot believe you haven't been there.
I just don't know how I haven't.
Yeah.
You know, I told Janice, I've got a list in my phone. I said, we're going, and I'm going to a place called, and I know you haven't heard of this, Camden Park.
I remember Camden Park.
Yeah. That's up near Huntington, up there on Camden Avenue.
Yeah.
It is it's the oldest or the only theme park in the state of West Virginia.
Gosh, you just flooded my mind with old TV commercials.
You ought to go on YouTube.
Yeah,
and it's not the safest place to go.
Is it still? It's still open.
Yeah, it's still open. My whole family is going this summer. I'm loading them up. I've done warned them all and told them. I said we are going to Camden Park. I said because my mom and dad took me there when I was little.
Yeah,
it's the only place I remember them taking me like that or anything.
Yeah,
and I said we're going to Camden Park. I'm going to load everybody up, and you're going to have fun if it kills you.
Yeah.
And the rides are not, they're old rides.
Yeah.
Not those kinds you see at Dollywood.
Right.
These are the kinds you can fly out of, all right? I mean, the kind you can get splinters from. Yeah. And I'm going to go to Camden Park.
My goodness.
And I'm going to see if Connie will make me some T-shirts with the picture of the logo on the front.
Yeah.
A big clown
holding
his hand up.
I have forgotten all about that. Oh my gosh! Yeah. Well, please, I want to hear the experience when you come back.
I'll go live when I get there.
Yeah. Hope you make it back.
We'll be on the tilt-a whirl.
Do me a favor, get a tetanus shot before you go.
I'm going to wear a hard hat. I'm looking forward to going. Though I don't know. I mean, shoot, I enjoy my life. I enjoy people.
Yeah.
I've just made a point that I'm going to.
Right.
I mean, it doesn't, at this point in my life, when we talk about friendships in ministry, okay? I mean, we know we got friendships in ministry, but sometimes we have friendships outside of ministry. And I think that's important too.
Oh, I mean, Jesus just didn't have 12 disciples for his friends. He had a lot of people that was his friends.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, a lot of people he came in contact with that didn't necessarily follow him everywhere he went.
Right.
Yeah, I think every relationship you make in church and out of church is just as important as the other,
Right.
And meeting those friends. You get to meet a lot of people in this world if you allow yourself.
Right.
And each person is so uniquely made. Yeah. And every time I meet somebody, I'm like, wow, this is just so cool, because of how they're structured or how they think or what they do. And it's amazing. But friendship, I think if we make friends in a little box, we may miss some of the greatest friends we'd never meet, you know?
Yeah.
There's some people I could call right now that may not go to church a lot, but probably do anything for me.
Yeah.
Just because they have that nature.
I've had some friends at several companies and things that I've had, and I had some friends that partners of mine in one business, and they weren't really what you call Jesus people, okay?
Right.
They were like 50 miles from being Jesus people. But one of them was extremely faith-based, talked about all the time, all right? And he talked about the Lord and was really, and talked about how the Lord loved him and took care of him and stuff like that. But he was the vice president of Penthouse Magazine at one point. And he was talking to me all about it, talking about how he worked for this magazine, how it wasn't near what people thought. And he was just telling me all kinds of things. But these guys tend to cuss.
Right.
And every time they did, they'd apologize to me. They had a big cussing streak about something. They said, "John, we're sorry. We
Yeah.
I said, "Well, I appreciate that because I don't like it."
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But I said, but you cuss if you want to, but I don't like it.
Right.
But they would apologize to me, but they were my friends. And,
right.
And I still call some of them and call them and give them a call going down the road and talk to them all. And we have close friends and we have friends.
Right.
But I don't know. I like to make sure that I stay in contact.
Yeah.
Call some.
Absolutely.
And do that. I think it's part of our testimony. And it says something about our character.
It is.
That we pass on to our family.
Exactly.
I mean, I don't know. I'm pretty big. But I think about this stuff, and I think about how what gives you hope of the future of the church and the next generation? What gives you hope?
It gives me hope of the next generation for the church. There's going to come a time when that's all you can see is the hope of Jesus. Everything that this world has invented, they're going to realize cannot fill the emptiness. Mm-hmm. And I think we're coming to a place, and I think we're coming soon, that there's going to be a generation. There's going to be, it's funny, the people that went into the wilderness from Egypt didn't make it to the promised land. Because every time they got into a problem, they compared it to Egypt. Well, we should just go back to Egypt. Man, I'd like to go back to those old times, But there was a generation born in the wilderness that had nothing to compare it to.
Right.
They just had the hope of the promised land. And I believe there's coming a group of people who, like I said, wasn't raised in church saying, like, I'd love to go back to the old days when they just know there's something better. There's something better for us. And that's my hope, because God has never left a generation without him revealing himself.
Right.
Never. Now, whether they accept it or not, that's neither here nor there. I'm just saying their Father's faithful enough. And I believe there's going to be a hungry generation that has been thrown everything. This is what life's about. This is what life's about. And they've seen it not stick.
Yeah.
They've seen people waver from it. There's going to be something that's going to come, and they're going to be like, that's the promise. Yeah. That's worth fighting for. That's worth pressing through. I think it's going to be the people who were born in the wilderness, not people who were born and raised to know better, which I'm thankful for that. But I think there's going to, because again, when we look at church today, most of us who grew up in church go, man, I remember when things were closed on Sunday and people were, they're not going to have those memories.
Right.
And they're just going to have wilderness memories. And there's got to be a place where there's something better than where I'm at. And that's going to provoke them and propel them to a place where God has for them.
And I agree with it. I see that, man. I think that hope, like we're talking about, I don't know, I have such great hope for this generation that's moving right now.
Yeah.
I just see it in them, and I think about, I just hear it in their voice. I see it. You know what? I talk about this a lot. I talk about even the difference between, and I know it's a little different topic, the difference between relationships. I see them difference in it. Even a difference in relationship between girls and boys is not like it was when I was growing up.
Right.
And I've shared this before. I don't know about you, but by the time I was in the 7th, 8th grade, I'd been in love 5 or 6 times or a dozen times. Okay.
Right.
I love you. Do you love me?
Yeah,
check here.
Check yes. Yeah.
Okay. But there's a difference in those relationships now.
Right.
And I see just a difference in people. And I don't know. I see a little depth that I haven't seen, that I didn't see in me when I was that age.
Right.
I hear it in their voices, and I see a little depth. And I guess because, last week when I sit down with a 13-year-old boy playing 5-card stud and he took my money, I seen a depth there. Okay.
Just not in your wallet.
My Lord.
There was no depth there.
He blessed me. All right. But I don't know. I see that in them, and I see a hope coming, and I'm excited about it, about the future. I want to try to do my little part,
right,
and just do and hand it off and go on, and whatever happens.
Right.
You know what I mean? And let it roll.
You can only leave it, right? You can't make people use it, but you can only. But if you leave it, at least there's hope. There's a chance that they use it.
Yeah,
right.
That's exactly.
I think a lot of people say, this generation's gone. They're too far gone, and they're not leaving anything. I mean, look in the Bible. One of the things that I love is when it says there was a generation of Egyptians that forgot about Joseph.
Right.
In other words, generations kept going, and somebody quit talking about Joseph and what he did, to where they started hating the Israelites now because there was no connection to Joseph, And that's what I think is. I think there's some people now who realize how important it is to leave this love of Jesus, and not forget about it, because it can change history. Right?
It's a different type of radical nowadays.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, there's a different type of radical, and I think too, it's not your generation, but there's this generation younger than you. It's even like the fathers you see. Okay, they have these tools that we didn't have. They have different books and videos and how to be a better father.
Right.
Now, some things throw me off when the fathers are changing diapers and all this stuff. I mean, I ain't too big on that. I mean, I watch them do it and I'm thinking, hey, man, what the heck's wrong with you? A woman's supposed to be doing that. You know what I mean? But these fathers nowadays carrying a diaper bag.
Yeah.
Carrying a baby.
Right.
I mean, but so... I get to laugh about it sometimes. I think, well, I don't know. I watch them do it. I think, but they have different tools that we didn't have.
That's right.
Okay, and this understanding and compassion, and I can imagine my dad having that with me.
Yeah.
Sitting me down, son, let's have a talk about your life.
Right.
And I'm even saying, now listen, I'm gonna slap you if you don't do this right. But it's different, man.
Right.
It's so different, and I think it's pretty cool.
Well, Jesus never healed people the same way the whole time. If so, everybody's testimony would be mud and spit.
Yeah.
And you know what would happen? Then we would start glorifying the mud and spit more than Jesus.
Well.
And so sometimes I think the message never changes.
Right.
But the method does.
Right.
Right. And as well as I,
does.
if you go and you want to become friends with 10 different people,
right.
The message is I want to be your friend. But the method is different because what I talked about with this guy about football, this guy don't even like football.
Right.
So I need to find another topic that we can come in agreement on to break the ice. And so I think a lot of times we do look at, well, this worked for me. Well, you got to understand, it's still going to be the same message.
Right.
Sometimes the method has got to change so that we trust the one with the message more than the method itself.
Yeah. I think what throws some people off is when you don't want anything from them.
Right.
They don't know what to do with you.
Right.
Okay, when you don't want anything, you don't need anything.
Yeah.
You just want to be a blessing.
Right.
Then all of a sudden they think, oh, Lord, what's he trying to do to me?
I mean, think about it. At Christmas time, I love to see people get a gift from somebody that they didn't get nothing from.
Right.
And as soon as that person walks off, well, I better get to the store and get them. Because some kind of condition is, if you've done something for me, then it's got to be, I got to do something for you.
Right.
And like you said,
that's a tough way.
Sometimes I think it takes more faith just to receive with an open heart than it does to receive something and want to give something back.
Right.
Right? It takes a humility. Mm-hmm. If you say you've done something for me and me not just go, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm blessed by that.
I'm a firm believer. I just watch this in lives, and when you go to somebody and you just want to do, I think that's why there's such a battle. If you ever try to be friends with rich people, okay, and I'm just telling you up front, okay, and I've got some wealthy friends, and it's hard to be friends with them because they're on guard.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which I understand.
Yeah.
I mean, they're on. I don't understand because I'm wealthy, but I understand how it can be.
Right.
Because they don't know if somebody wants something from them.
Right.
Okay, and the Bible talks a lot about that.
Right.
About that, but you can see some old boy who's living off of $1,200 a month Social Security, and he don't have no problem if you want to be his friend.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. He just says, "All righty, hey buddy, how are you?"
Hey, spend the time of day with you, and not looking for
I got an old dog over at War that I call him Beggar. I see him all the time. He's a little brown dog. He's all man.
Yeah.
He ain't like them dogs like we got in the house.
Yeah.
This little sucker's all man.
Yeah.
And I seen him the other day. I was over there, and I keep a box of Wishbone treats in my truck.
Yeah.
And I keep him in there, and he knows when I'm coming. He sees me. But it was snowing. He was laying up in the seat of a ATV. Snow was on his back. He's just laying there with his little eyes shut, just sleeping. And I said, "Hey, Beggar." He raised up out there and shook the snow off, come over and got a Wishbone. Not a care in the world.
Yeah.
About nothing. And I think about people in their life, how people adapt. And we adapt and things move in our life. And I don't know, man. I'm just excited about the future.
Right.
I really
Absolutely.
am. I'm excited about it. Well, I appreciate you. I'm not going to keep you all night because I know you got to drive back home. Okay, but you're going to have to come back in again.
Yes.
But we need to pick a day off.
Right.
When you don't have 14 other projects, and we'll come in, take our time.
Yeah.
But we'll do it.
I've enjoyed this. Always enjoyed just sitting down talking.
And just have fun.
Yeah.
We'll just enjoy it. But I think we're making history. That's what I'm always a firm believer in.
We are, right? We're definitely making history. But I'm going to go back to one of my original points is we're definitely making memories.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. And whether people watch us talk like this or don't, me and you walk away with something we didn't have when the day started.
Right.
That's pretty cool.
I sit down one time after a meeting with Brother Hall, a big meeting, hundreds of people in the place, and him walking there in the gifts and miracles after miracle. And it must have been, 11, 12 o'clock at night. We walked up the street at War. We was in the hotel there in the back in the kitchen, and we ordered some sandwiches from a drive-in. We sat down. And and we got ready to eat, and I got ready to eat my sandwich, and he pushed it back. He said, "Don't eat that, boy." He reached over and got his sandwich and cut it in half, and he gave me half, and he took his half. He said, "You'll never forget this night."
Yeah.
I never have.
Wow.
Why?
Yeah.
I mean, it was a memory.
Right.
I never forget the night me and him sat there and just shared that sandwich.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think memories are not, you don't know they're memories when you're making them.
That's right. They're just moments.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Brother, appreciate you.
Appreciate you. Thank you so much.
I thank you for
It's our hope that you enjoyed John Dash and Friends today. Your host, John Dash, believes these television programs serve as preserving history, capturing meaningful conversations and life lessons for generations to come. Each week, he sits down with friends from all walks of life as they share their wisdom, their stories, and their life experiences. If you enjoyed today's program, you can find us on all social media platforms. Just search John Dash and Friends. We're on Facebook and TikTok as well. In closing, John and his family thank you for allowing us to introduce you to their friends. We look forward to seeing you next time on John Dash and Friends.